Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to tackle neck pain and tension headaches.
Oh, yeah.
Especially for those of you out there, who spend hours at a computer or maybe love lifting weights.
Yeah, I think this will resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. So we are diving into episode 40, posterior neck pain tension and exertion headache.
Okay.
And get this, a stiff first rib.
What?
I know, right? It could be like the sneaky culprit behind a lot of this pain.
That's interesting. So how does that even work? How does a stiff rib cause all this?
Right. So think about it. When you lift your arm overhead, that first rib needs to move, right? It needs to glide.
Yeah.
And if it's stiff, it's kind of like trying to open a rusty old window. Things just don't move the way they should.
Right. It's like it gets stuck.
Yeah, exactly.
And then everything else has to compensate.
Exactly. So then you get all these issues.
Like what?
So impingement is one, where your shoulder joint, doesn't have enough space to move freely.
Ah, okay.
And then they can even cause instability in your shoulder.
Wow.
And then, and this is kind of crazy, in some cases, numbness in your hands.
Really?
Yeah, especially if you're lifting heavy things all the time.
Huh, interesting.
I know, it's like this chain reaction that we don't even realize is happening.
So what can you do about it?
Right. So that's the thing. There are actually some really simple but effective techniques that you can use to mobilize that first rib and just get things, moving properly again.
I'm all ears. Let's hear them.
All right. So the guide, it mentions something called, and this is a mouthful, the basic first rib smash and floss.
Okay.
So
it's kind of intense.
I know, but also, I don't know, kind of intriguing.
Yeah, a little bit.
So you'll need a lacrosse ball, or you can use a yoga tune-up ball.
Okay.
Find a doorway, like a wall corner. You could even use a squat rack at the gym.
Yeah.
All right. So you're going to position that ball right on your first rib. And you can find that it's if you feel between your collarbone and the base of your neck.
Okay.
So right where that trapezius muscle kind of starts. And you're just going to lean into the ball to apply pressure.
So I just lean and hold.
You're going to use what's called a contract and relax method.
Okay.
So you're going to press into the ball and then release that pressure.
Got it.
And as you're doing that, you're going to move your arm through a full range of motion.
Oh, okay. So raising my arm overhead, rotating it around like that.
Exactly. So raise it overhead, rotate it externally, pull it back with that internal rotation, even extend it behind your back.
Okay.
And you're keeping that pressure on the ball the whole time.
Gotcha.
Oh, and you can also incorporate some head movements too, just to release any tension in your neck and your trapezius muscles.
So you're basically opening up that whole area.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's amazing how just freeing up this one tiny bone, it can just unlock your entire shoulder and relieve all this tension you didn't even know was there.
Wow.
So I actually tried this before we started recording today.
Oh, cool.
And it is wild. My shoulder already feels so much better.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anything you got to be careful of when you're doing this though?
Oh, that's a good point. So there are a lot of nerves that run through your neck in this area. So if you start to feel any numbness or tingling, just back off a bit, adjust the pressure. It's always better to err on the side of caution and just listen to your body.
Yeah. Good advice.
So speaking of tightness, that feeling you get in the back of your neck after a heavy lift?
Ugh, yeah. Brutal.
Right. Okay. So that's where our next technique comes in.
Okay.
So that tightness, it actually comes from your neck extensor muscles, being overworked. Those are the muscles that help you look up. Hold your head upright. And when they get all overworked, they can cause a lot of trouble.
So it's not just from bad posture, hunching over a computer all day?
I mean, posture definitely plays a role.
Okay.
But, any activity that involves extending your neck repeatedly, so lifting weights,
right,
or even just looking up at your phone for too long, it can all contribute to that tightness.
Okay. And I'm guessing this tightness is what leads to those lovely tension headaches?
You guessed it.
Yeah.
So those neck extensors, they're a major contributor to neck pain, strains, and those headaches we all know. And, well, don't love so much.
Right, of course. So even if my neck doesn't hurt right now, doing some exercises for this area is a good preventative measure.
Exactly. Think of it as a cleanup routine for the back of your neck.
I like that. Cleanup routine.
Keeping those muscles happy will save you so much discomfort, down the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
And luckily the guide has some great techniques for that too. So for this one, you can use a lacrosse ball on a mat, but a softer option like an alpha ball or supernova might feel a little better for some people. And remember those yoga tune-up balls we talked about?
Yeah.
Those are also great for this.
Oh, cool. So many options.
I know, right?
No.
So a firmer ball, like a lacrosse ball, it'll give you like a deeper, more intense release, whereas a softer ball is going to be more gentle.
Okay.
It really comes down to like personal preference, what feels best for your body.
Yeah, that makes sense. So once I've chosen my weapon, what do I do?
Yeah, right. So you're going to find those tight spots along the base of your skull.
Okay.
From the center out towards your ears.
Uh-huh.
You're basically going to use the ball to like scour the area.
Okay.
So find a tight spot and just gently scrub back and forth across it.
Yeah.
To release that tension.
So I'm like literally giving myself a little head massage with a ball.
Pretty much. And if you want to like increase the pressure, you can gently load your head into the ball or apply pressure with your hands.
Yeah.
Always listen to your body. Don't push it too hard.
Good advice. So what if I want to like target, specific segments of the spine in my neck, the cervical spine?
Yes. So if you want to get into those specific segments, a double lacrosse ball, yoga tune-up balls, or a Gemini can be really helpful. They're going to provide like more focused pressure.
Those sound familiar.
Yeah.
We talked about those for the first rib, right?
Yeah.
So same tools, different area.
Exactly. And remember the flossing motion we talked about? You can use that here too.
Okay.
So like moving your head side to side, back and forth to kind of mobilize the area. Even something as simple as like a rolled up towel can work wonders.
Wow. So many options.
All right. So we've got options.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. So it sounds like there are like a lot of different ways to approach this depending on your needs and your preferences.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the beauty of it. There's no one size fits all. It's all about finding what works best for you, your body.
Yeah. It takes the pressure off feeling like you have to, do it perfectly.
Exactly. It's all about exploration, finding what feels good. And remember, consistency is key.
You know what? That is the perfect place to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more on how to get rid of that pesky neck pain.
So it's amazing how much relief you can get from those exercises,
right?
I
know, it's wild. And the best part is like, you don't need any fancy equipment or like a gym membership or anything.
Right, yeah.
You could literally do these while you're like watching TV or waiting for your coffee to brew.
Exactly. Just incorporate them into your daily routine,
Yeah.
A few minutes here and there, and it makes all the difference.
So we talked about like the first rib and those neck extensor muscles.
Yeah.
But the guide also mentioned something called the thoracic spine.
Yeah.
That's our upper back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And believe it or not, the thoracic spine plays a huge role in like neck and shoulder health.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, think about it. Prolonged sitting, especially with poor posture, can lead to all sorts of stiffness and restricted movement in that area.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I spend so much time hunched over my laptop, and I always feel the tension like right in my upper back and shoulders.
Right. It's really common. And just like with that first rib, that stiffness can have a ripple effect throughout your whole upper body,
So what can we do to like, I don't know, keep our thoracic spine happy and mobile?
Well, the guide recommends a couple of tools that are great for this area. So the double lacrosse ball and the Gemini.
Okay. Yeah, I remember seeing that Gemini in the guide. It kind of looks like a foam roller, but with two knobs on it.
Yeah.
What's special about that one?
So it's designed to target those muscles and fascia that run along the sides of your spine.
Okay.
Fascia, it's basically this like thin layer of connective tissue. It surrounds your muscles and organs.
Right.
And when that fascia gets tight, it can really restrict your movement and cause pain. So the Gemini is really good at releasing that. You just lie on your back with the Gemini positioned under your upper back, and you gently roll back and forth. You can adjust the pressure, target specific areas, by shifting your weight or moving your arms.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture. And what about the double lacrosse ball?
Yeah.
How do we use that for the thoracic spine?
So similar to the Gemini, place the double lacrosse ball between your shoulder blades and use those same rolling movements to release the tension.
And the guide even mentions adding weight to the double lacrosse ball for a more intense release.
Yeah, if you're really stiff and you need a deeper release, you can put like a 45-pound bumper plate on top of it or a heavy medicine ball.
Oh, wow.
While you're lying on it. Safety first, though.
Of course, yeah.
Always listen to your body.
It's crazy how connected everything is. Who would have thought that like mobilizing my upper back could actually help with my neck pain and headaches?
I know, right?
It just shows you how important it is to like address those underlying restrictions.
Yeah. It's all about that bigger picture, you know, treating the root cause, not just the symptoms. And the thoracic spine, that's a crucial piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. So we've covered the first rib, the neck extensors, and now the thoracic spine. What's next on our deep dive adventure?
Well, the guide also talks about some really interesting exercises for improving overhead mobility, which is something that I think a lot of people struggle with, you know, especially if they lift weights or play certain sports.
Overhead mobility, you mean like reaching up to grab something off a high shelf?
Yeah, exactly. Or lifting weights overhead, like during a shoulder press. A lot of people have restrictions in their shoulders that, you know, limit their range of motion. And that can lead to pain and dysfunction.
Yeah. Well, I know when I try and like reach straight overhead, I definitely feel a bit of tightness, like my shoulders just don't want to go all the way up.
Yeah, that's really common. And the guide talks about some specific archetypes, you know, that are important for optimal overhead mobility.
Archetypes? That sounds kind of mystical. What are those?
It's just a fancy way of describing those common movement patterns that we use in like everyday life and in sports. So the guide mentions things like the overhead archetype, the archetype front rack, and the archetype hang.
Okay, I think I'm starting to understand. Yeah. So these archetypes basically just describe like the different ways we use our shoulders and arms in those overhead movements.
Yeah, exactly. So the overhead archetype is pretty self-explanatory, you know? Raising your arms overhead with like proper alignment and control.
Right. So it's not just about like reaching as high as you can.
Right.
It's about doing it with good form.
Exactly. And then like the archetype front rack is all about holding a weight in front of your shoulders.
Okay.
Like you would for a front squat or a clean. And then the archetype hang is all about hanging from a bar with a full grip, which is a great way to improve your shoulder stability and grip strength.
Okay, so we have these like different archetypes that describe how we move our arms overhead. But how does that all tie back to like the mobility techniques we've been discussing?
So the guide emphasizes that addressing those restrictions in your first rib, your neck extensors, and your thoracic spine that can really improve your ability to do those overhead movements with proper form and without pain.
So it's all connected.
It really is.
So by improving mobility in those key areas, we're basically just creating this ripple effect that like improves our overall movement patterns.
Yeah, it's really fascinating how everything just works together, right?
Yeah. So the guide, it gives some specific techniques for improving overhead mobility, kind of like building on what we've already learned.
Yeah. So they outline several variations of the T-spine ball smash mobilization.
Okay, yeah. I remember seeing that term mentioned earlier. What exactly does that involve?
So as the name suggests, it involves using a ball to mobilize the thoracic spine.
And what kind of ball do we use for that?
So you can use either a double lacrosse ball or a Gemini for this technique. They really allow you to like target specific segments of your thoracic spine rather than just, you know, kind of working on the area in a general way.
And how do we actually do this mobilization?
So you lie on your back with the ball positioned between your shoulder blades, and then you can use a variety of movements to like create pressure and release tension in the area.
Like what kind of movements?
You can arch your back, elevate your hips, and lower them to the ground while arching back, rotate from side to side, raise your arms overhead, or even use a combination of those methods. You know, it's all about experimenting and finding what feels best for your body.
It's a lot of options.
Yeah.
Sounds like we can get pretty creative with it.
Exactly. And the guide really emphasizes listening to your body and choosing those movements that feel most beneficial for you.
Okay. And what is like the main goal of this? Like, what are we trying to achieve with this T-spine ball smash mobilization?
So the goal is to improve the mobility in your thoracic spine. And that can lead to better shoulder and neck function, reduced pain, and, you know, improve performance in those overhead movements.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
This is all starting to make so much sense.
Yeah.
It's like a chain reaction.
Yeah.
By addressing those mobility restrictions in our foundation, we can kind of create this ripple effect that improves our overall movement patterns.
Precisely. It's all about understanding that interconnectedness of our bodies and addressing the root cause of our pain and limitations.
Yeah. You know, it's really empowering to learn about this stuff.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off feeling like you just have to live with the pain or discomfort.
Absolutely.
There are things we can do to feel better.
And the best part is these techniques are so simple and effective.
Yeah.
Easy to incorporate into your daily routine.
We've covered a lot of ground today. We've learned about the importance of that first rib mobility, The impact of those tight neck extensors, the crucial role of the thoracic spine.
Right.
And we even explored some techniques for improving overhead mobility. It's been quite a deep dive.
It really has. And I hope our listeners are feeling as inspired as I am to put some of these techniques into practice.
I know I am. And I think that's a great place to take a quick break. We'll be right back with some final thoughts and takeaways from our exploration of neck pain, tension headaches, and the power of mobility. I am feeling so much more knowledgeable about my own body after going through all this.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
It really is. I never would have thought my first rib could be messing with my headaches.
Yeah, it's wild how these things can be connected, What seems like an isolated problem is often part of a bigger picture.
And it makes you realize how important it is to, actually understand how your body works so you can fix things properly.
That's so true. We need to be proactive, not reactive, when it comes to our health.
For sure. I used to just think my neck pain was from sitting at my desk too long. Never considered my first rib or my thoracic spine or any of these other things. It's a game changer.
Totally. It's like you've been given this amazing new toolkit to take care of yourself.
Yeah. And what I love is that these techniques are so simple. You don't need a fancy gym or anything. You can do them anytime, anywhere.
Exactly. Even a few minutes each day can add up to a big difference over time. Consistency is key, as always.
So just to quickly recap what we've learned. That first rib, something we often overlook, can have a huge impact on our neck and shoulder mobility.
Right.
And then those tight neck extensor muscles, those are usually the main players behind tension headaches.
Exactly. And let's not forget about that thoracic spine. Taking care of your upper back is essential for good overall mobility.
It's incredible how much better we can feel just by understanding a few simple things about our bodies and putting in a little effort.
For sure. Knowledge is power, right?
Absolutely. But beyond the specific techniques, I think the most important thing we've learned is this idea of how everything is connected. Our bodies are these complex, amazing systems, and we need to treat them that way.
I love that. It's so true. And once you start to see that connection, it empowers you to make real, lasting changes.
Yeah. So to everyone listening, go explore your movement potential, find what works for you, and take control of your health.
That's the best advice I can give.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone. We'll see you again next time.